Okay, this is page 135. This is the Module 5 test review. This is your last chance to practice division of whole numbers and then adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing of decimals. We're going to do most of this page. I'll scroll down and show you. We're going to do all the way through number 9. You can skip number 10 and number 11. I'll just model that for you right now. You can skip 10 and you can skip 11. We're going to do 1 through 9 on this video. So let's get started. If you want to try these first, you can try the problems and then watch the video to check your answer. Alright, number 1. Landon is building new bookshelves for his bookstore's new mystery section. Each shelf can hold 34 books. There are 1,265 mystery books. How many shelves will he need to build? I'm going to divide 1,265 by 34. There's no decimals, so I don't have to do anything with my decimals. 34 goes in 126, probably only 3 times. If I multiply it by 4, I think that's going to be too high, and I'll show you why. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13. That's too high, so it's going to be 3. So 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Subtract 6 minus 2, I get 4. 2 minus 0, I get 2. Bring down this 5. How many times is 34? Go into 245. 30 would go into 248 times. I think it's going to be 7 though, because 34 is higher, so I'm going to try 7. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 3 is 21. Plus 2 is 23. I'm going to have a remainder. I'm going to do 15 minus 8 is 7, and I borrowed. So the answer is 37 with a remainder of 7. Now we can't write 37 remainder of 7. That won't make sense. What we can do though is think to ourselves, what would make sense here? 37 shelves is going to fit most of the books, but then I've got 7 books left over. So I'm actually going to need a 38th shelf. So the answer is 37, remainder 7, but in the context of a word problem like this, we would have to round it up to 38 shelves. Alright, let's move on. Adding and subtracting decimals. Number 2. On Saturday, Keisha ran 3 and 218 thousandths kilometers. On Sunday, she ran 2 and 41 hundredths kilometers. How much farther did she run on Saturday than on Sunday? This tells you that it's a subtraction problem. How much farther did she run? So I'm going to take my larger value, which is 3, 218 thousandths minus 2 and 41 hundredths. The first thing I'm going to do is annex a 0 here to make them the same length. Now I'm going to subtract. 8 minus 0 is 8. 1 minus 1 is 0. Can't do 2 minus 4, so I'm going to go borrow and make it 12. 12 minus 4 is 8. 2 minus 2 is 0. Decimal comes over. The answer is 0 and 808 thousandths. And we have to label it, and our unit is kilometers. So 0 and 808 thousandths kilometers. Alright, let's move on. Number 3 is a word problem, multiplying decimals. Marta walked at 3 and 9/10 miles per hour for 0 and 72 hundredths hours. How far did she walk? We're going to multiply, and in this case it wouldn't matter what you put where. 0 and 72 can go on top, 3 and 9/10 can go on bottom. I want you to pay attention, I've done this many times now, that in multiplication you do not have to align the decimals. You basically pretend, we should probably just do it like this, 72 times 39. You basically pretend there are whole numbers, and then we're going to move the decimal 3 times. So they're the same thing. Now I don't mind multiplying with the decimals because I'm just going to ignore them. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 7 is 63, plus 1 is 64. 9 times 0 is 0. I don't have to do that. I am in the tens place for my 3 though, so I'm going to put a 0 here because my first answer has to be in the tens place. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 0 is 0. I don't have to do that. Now you add 8 and 10. 6 plus 1 is 8. 2. Now your digits are going to be 2808, but then you got to count over 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There's 3 decimal places in your answer, in your problems. Therefore, it needs to be 3 decimal places in your product. So the answer is 2 and 808 thousandths, and then we're talking about, in this case, miles. All right, let's move on. 2 more multiplication problems here. It says multiply. You could, for number 4, you could pretend, this would be actually really interesting, you could pretend it's 122 times 7. And then when we get done, we're going to count our digits. 1, 2, 3, 4. When we get done, we're going to move our decimal over 4 places. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 1 is 15. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8. And there's nothing else to do, so I'm done multiplying. So I count again, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What goes right here? A 0. And then you can put a 0 at the beginning too. 0.0854. And if you don't trust me, while you're not allowed to use this on a test, you can use it on your review. 0.07 times 1.22 is 0.0854. So you should trust me. Number 5. I like to put my longer problem on top, and my longer factor on top and my shorter factor on the bottom. Makes it a little bit easier to multiply. So I'm going to do 265 times 47. I'm going to ignore the decimals, and I'm going to count them at the end. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 6 is 42, plus 3 is 45. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 4 is 18. I'm in the tens place, so I'm going to put a 0. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 2 is 26. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. 5, 5, 14, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 12 and 455. We could do a little rounding to see if it's reasonable. 4.7 would round to 5, and 2.6 would round to 3. 5 times 3 is 15. I got 12. I think that's close enough. All right, cool. One more section here. We're going to do these 4 division problems, and then that's going to take us to the end of the video. We've got 64 divided by 0.4. This is a really interesting problem because you're not supposed to divide a whole number by a decimal. So what do I do? Right off the bat, you have to multiply the divisor, which is 0.4. You have to multiply by a power of 10 to make it a whole number. Now that's simple. You can just move the decimal once to the right. Now that is a 4. But in order to do that, you have to do the same thing to the dividend too. So you have to annex a decimal and a 0, and then move it once to the right. Now I have 640 divided by 4. 4 goes into 6 ones. 4 goes into 24 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. And I've got more spaces for zeros, but I don't have any more things to divide, so 4 goes into 0 0 times. I have to put that 0 in the decimal, or in the quotient, to take up that space. If I didn't, I'd have it 16 and then a space and then my decimal. That wouldn't make sense. You could always check it too. This one we could check by multiplication. 160 times 0.4 is 64, so that makes sense. So the answer is 160. And you can put your decimal at the end, or you don't have to. It doesn't matter. Number 7. 4 and 7398 divided by 0 and 26. 26, oh, I'm sorry, move your decimal. We're going to multiply this by 100, which is the same as moving it twice. So we're going to do the same thing to the dividend that we did to the divisor. Now we're going to divide. We have to ask ourselves how many times 26 goes into 47, and it's only once. 7 minus 6 is 1, and 4 minus 2 is 2. 21 is smaller than 26, so I did it right. Bring down this 3. Now I have to ask myself how many times 26 goes into 213. And it's quite a few. It's probably 6 or 7, maybe even 8. Could do a little rounding and guessing. I'm going to try, I think I'm just going to try 8. So on your whiteboard off to the side, you try it, and if you're wrong, you guess again. It's called guess and check. 6 times 8 is 48. 8 times 2 is 16. Plus 4 is 20. So I guessed right. It's 8. Because 208 is just a little smaller than 213. 13 minus 8 is 5, and I borrowed. So now I've got 59. 26 goes into 59 twice, because 2 times 26 is 52. 26 goes into 78, I think 3 times. 26 times 3, 6, 18, 6, 78. So I was right. So if I multiplied 3 times 26, I get 78, and I'd subtract, I'd get 0. So I'm done dividing. Now where does my decimal go? It was here, but then it got moved over twice, and then it goes straight up. So my answer is 18 and 2300ths. Alright, 2 more problems. Got to go kind of quick, though, to squeeze them in on this video. So we're going to check out some speed division here. Number 8. 26 and 7300ths divided by 9. No decimal movement necessary. If there's no decimal in the divisor, then you don't have to do anything to the decimal in the dividend. 2 goes into 26 twice. 2 goes into 87 9 times. 9 goes into 63 7 times. Decimal goes straight up. The answer is 2 and 9700ths. I told you it would be fast. Number 9, 3.2 divided by 4. I did that backwards. It says 4 divided by 3.2. I have to move this decimal once to the right, which means I have to annex this decimal and move it once to the right. 32 goes into 40 once. 1 times 32 is 32. Annex 0. 32 goes into 80 twice. 2 times 32 is 64. Get a difference of 16. 32 goes into 165 times. 5 times 32 is 160. I know I went fast and didn't explain it there, but that is the right answer. The answer is 1 and 2500ths. We could check it real quick. If you just punch it in what was given to you on the line, it's 4 divided by 3.2 is 1 and 2500ths. Okay, good job. You're done with that with page 128.